taking two halves and making a whole. Here's your look at the Mattel Mass Universe Revelation, Roboto. When Man-at-Arms was banished by King Randor, Roboto joined his father in exile. All was peaceful until the day Teela showed up at their doorstep on a quest to reforge the Sword of Power. Knowing he's the only one capable to carry out the task, Roboto joins Teela to recover the two halves of the sword and forge it himself. Just before this figure forges anything, let's grab the tape measure just to see how tall the Revelation Roboto stands. Easily one of my favorite characters from this series. The short-lived mini-series did divide fans of Mass Universe. Whether you liked or hated this series, some of the designs of the characters were pretty cool, including Roboto here. Roboto, though, stands about 6.5 inches in height, or the figure's going to be about 17 centimeters tall. And if you're hoping for figure comparisons, well, I don't actually have anything readily available. I'm just kidding, actually. I mean, what kind of reviewer would I be if I didn't actually have figures available? In this case, I actually have what I have available here is the Master Universe Revelation He-Man. Not a great-looking He-Man, but again, if you are collecting the Master Universe Revelation stuff, it's the He-Man that we have to work with for right now. Recently, we also did have a look at Stratos. Now, this isn't Stratos from Revelation. I don't think we actually have a Stratos from Revelation, but it's the next best thing. This is the Master Universe new Eternia Stratos. And if you are one that's collecting 6-inch scale, then actually this is an ideal lineup. Not that it has to always necessarily be for Revelation. I just finished jokingly saying that that's the He-Man it has to be with your collection. Not at all, not at all. If you want to have even the 40th anniversary He-Man displayed as part of your 6-inch scale Master Universe figures, you can do whatever you want. Something also I did do when we had a look at the Stratos is that I did bring in the Master Universe Origins figures. And of course, in a case like Roboto, though the colors are much brighter on his Origins counterpart, he has very similar aspects between the two figure designs. As for Roboto's accessories, the figure comes included with two variations of swapped out arms, which only then swap out on this side of the figure's body. The figure also comes with the two halves of the power sword that he fuses together and sacrifices himself in order to do that. The thing I am a little disappointed with is the selection of accessories that we get here. Not that we get as much selection as we do, but what they choose for those accessories are sort of underwhelming for me. First of which, the figure comes included with two variations of arms. Now, the arms themselves, one looks to be a cannon, one actually, I mean, they look pretty much a similar looking cannon arms. This one just happens to have a couple of extra barrels for more pew pew pew. You can see that they are colored about the same, using a copper color for kind of the undercarriage area, the bottom section of it. This one happens to have yellow. This one doesn't have yellow, but mostly other than that, they're all done in still that silver and sort of copper color. Now, to swap out the arms, again, you're only going to be looking on this side of the body. Just ignore what's happening on this side. I mean, you can still look at it, but if you really want the attention, this is where all the attention is going to be happening here. Go ahead and swap out the arm. You're basically just going to divide, remove the forearm from the rest of the Roboto's body. Again, you just detach it from the peg. Again, you can't do it on this side. If you're going to be doing that on this side, you would only just be successful to break the arm. And then you're going to be running upstairs crying, saying to yourself, slamming your fists into a pillow. Why did I force the arm? I told you not to. So it's really only this side. And then from there, choose which hand you want to use. This one almost kind of looks like a hand should really belong on the inside. But again, it's kind of like a cannon arm. And then he's got like more of a, I don't know, just like a pistol hand. Go ahead and just attach this either way onto the peg. A little harder to do, but once you get it on there, he has himself a little pew 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 hand. The thing about it, though, is while he is forging the two halves of the sword together, he is also seen using a hammer hand. A hammer hand, which I really wish they could have included. In fact, maybe instead of even using this hand, if they had used this instead, used the plastic at least, to given us a hammer hand, I would have much rather preferred that instead. We're going to put that figure down here for a second. Speaking of halvesies on swords, the figure has two halves of the sword. Now, he is forging these together to form, once again, the power sword. So you can kind of line things up, so to speak, kind of get a rough idea of what the power sword is going to look like when the two halves come together. Or what you can do is also one better, just reach off to the side, grab the one. It's like I had this all readily available. grab the one that came included with the Revelation He-Man. This is really what the Power Sword then looks when he merges the two together. I gotta say, like, these are underwhelming. I mean, it's nice that they used, in this case, a translucent orange plastic, but what really is under-delivering it for me is if you've seen the scene, first of all, the swords look more flaming, and very notably, one side is purple, one side is orange, and he forces the two together, perhaps against their will, to make the Power Sword. This should have been purple, this should have been orange, or this vice versa. And at the very least, they should have been sculpted a lot more than having a very clean-looking blade. These things should be on fire, not literally, but it certainly should have been sculpted as if they are fire swords that he's trying to push together. Purple, orange. Why are we getting orange in both the cases? Now, you could take it, again, if you had, you know what, we'll have to take the hand back off. All that. Take the hand back off. I'm going to pop this hand back into place. There we go. Yeah, again, you can take the two halves of the sword. The plastic's actually pretty good on these hands, too, to get the two halves of the sword together, or I should say neither one of his hands. Plug the one side in. Do the exact same thing on the other side. Talk amongst yourselves while I'm doing this, please. Help yourselves to the sandwiches I provided also. Okay, there we go. Okay. So, if you have the two halves of the sword together, then essentially Roboto kind of forces them together, and then he uses sort of the internal turbine that he has in the center of his body to essentially weld the two parts together. Things don't go so well for Roboto, but at least at the end of the day, you get yourself the full Power Sword after all of that. The swords, again, I feel could have been done a lot better than what we actually get right here. I like the use of the translucent plastic, but at the very least, it should have been done purple, and it should have been done orange, and it should have been a lot cooler looking sculpted than what we actually get here. Okay, that's what's left of whatever rant I had about the swords. Let's put those aside. Getting a closer look at Roboto. Put your arms down, sir. There we go. Getting a closer look at Roboto. He looks very much like the cartoon that we get here. His face always in the cartoon looked very squished, and you get very much that when you get the figure as well. The mouth does open and close like it would have been in the series as well. Although in this case, the original Roboto would have had the function of being able to rotate the waist, and that the dials on the inside would have been rotating. Nothing actually does move on the inside of Roboto's body, nor does the mouth actually open and close. If you think I'm making that all up, don't think that. Let's bring in the Roboto from the Origins line. Again, when you rotate this back and forth, not only does the dials inside, the cogs rotate, but also Roboto can chat away as the little mouthpiece actually rotates or hinges up and down. Kind of wish they could have done something similar here for Roboto, but I guess with this line being the 6-inch variety, Roboto's more for design aspects, design elements, than he is actually a gimmick. There's no gimmick happening here at all, Roboto, other than just swapping out those arms. Again, only on that side. As for the rest of the figure, like, one thing I do really like, short of the fact that the mouth doesn't open and close, the colors are really good on this one. He's got the copper color there for kind of like, again, that mouth plate that he has. It's very similar, in fact, to the copper colors that he has for these parts that we just finished popping off. The colors here for the hands aren't 100% jiving for me. The hands themselves are actually more closer to being orange. The gauntlets are actually closer to being that copper orange. So I don't know why the colors didn't match a little bit better than what they do. That, you know, for the most part, like, the colors are really good on this guy too. There's a little bit of marbling that's happening here for like the blues. I see also a little bit of marbling happening here for the silvers, but a lot of that also has been the case too when we looked at the Origins stuff also. The translucency of the clear plastic does look nice. You can again see the inner workings of Roboto. This again would have fired off an effect as he certainly bring the swords together. Does not do that. Does not actually fire anything, just to fully disclose that. The lower half of his body, again, kind of carries the same coloring of the orange, but like the oranges don't seem to match. Like at the front of it, actually, is a lot more orange than what you get actually at the back. The back is actually more close to being red, but I think it's supposed to be like that. There's a little bit of like marbling here happening on the back of the figure's legs. You know, speaking of the figure's legs, just to deviate a little bit from the norm here, the legs on this figure, strangely, have not been used for any other figure that I can think of, and yet immediately out of the packaging, he's loose. He's loose. He's loose on, well, actually both his legs, and he was also loose, I think, in this arm right here as well. I don't know why he had to be so loose. The knees are pretty good. In fact, they're actually worse than being loose. They're super, super tight. So I would probably recommend heating this up a little bit before starting to bend these. But again, I don't know why the legs, specifically at the thighs, are so loose on this figure. Anyways, the articulation for Roboto, I don't know why, again, I'm overpronouncing it like that. The head rotates, yes, all the way around. It's on a ball joint, yes. So you can have the head looking up. That's as far up as it's going to go. You have the head looking down. rock back and forth. And yes, I guess you could technically say that that's articulation as well. A big smile on his face. It's not really a smile, but it kind of looks like a smile. As for the shoulders for Roboto, again, come out at 90 degrees. A little tighter, but again, I would rather tighter than loosey-goosey down below here. But you can take those arms, you can rotate them all the way around, The figure does have a bicep swivel. Double hinge actually is really nice to see here on Roboto, although you really can't successfully bend it any more than just a single hinge. Chalk it up to super muscular arms on this robot's body. The hands rotate also all the way around. And obviously, I don't know if you count this as articulation because technically this would be popping off anyways. But you could say, on this side at least, you can rotate the arms all the way around. This other arm, you can't do that. The waist does do a simple swivel, and that's it. Legs, once again, are on very loose ball joints. Not that the ball joints are loose, but certainly something's happening to the sockets, causing these legs to be as loose as they are. Legs go forward. Legs also go back. 3/4 of the way up the thigh, there's a swivel cut, so you can rotate the thigh all the way around. The figure does have a double hinge on the knee. Again, really tight on this figure. Double hinge, but again, like, I don't know, probably not going to be bending the knee that far anyways. But he does have articulation point. This isn't articulated. This is simply just a continuation of the molding that they would have used for his lower boots, which again are very nicely handled here. Figure does have an ankle pivot, so you can rock it back and forth this way. And yes, Roboto does have an ankle rocker. Now, once again, he does have pegals on the undersides of his feet, but like with all the cases we've looked at already, none of these figures at all have come included with display stands. But if you did want to use a display stand, you could, for all intensive purposes, use a display stand from another figure line. And then once again, we can slide over Roboto, bring in his former Origins self, so you guys can see really what's going on here. They did also, one thing I wanted to mention, they did also smooth off a lot of the surfaces, but I mean, that's not really to a design standpoint of the figure. That's actually based more, again, on the Revelation design of Roboto, which I really like. I like the look of Roboto. The thing interesting about Roboto is not that the figure under-delivers, but all the other things that come with the figure under-deliver. Again, I think he should have come included with a hammer hand. And I think at the very least, I think the swords should have been a lot handled better than what we get here. Flaming swords would have been better in order instead of actually the smooth blade swords that we got instead. My reason for getting Roboto stemmed more from the idea of actually having just a 6-inch version of the character, along with all the other 6-inch Master Universe figures I've been collecting thus far. So for me, it doesn't really matter all that much, the fact that the swords are displayed here in a clear or translucent orange plastic. I don't have any plans to actually have the figure displayed with it, because when I look at a figure like this on my shelf, I'm not going to be instantly thinking, okay, this is Revelation Roboto. Still, though, if I have to be a critic about the whole thing, I think if you really wanted to have the two halves of the sword like you would have had in the miniseries, then yeah, one sword side should have been flaming in a purple and one certainly should have been flaming in orange. And they should have certainly not used the same shared plastic. Obviously, in a case like this, they wanted to get more out of the mileage of this colored plastic, but I think it comes at a sacrifice of not getting accuracy the way it looks in the series. Roboto, though, again, still has some swapped out hands. Obviously, when you swap out one, you're going to sacrifice the idea of even having him merging the two swords together. But again, for me at least, that's not the reasoning why I picked up the figure in the first place. Roboto does look good. Modernized, yes. Smoother on the surfaces, on his arms especially. But he still has enough of Roboto that you recognize right away. He's missing altogether the gimmick of actually rotating his body. So if you did want to pick up this figure with the hopeful idea that this guy could actually rotate his cogs and move his mouth plate up and down, it's not going to happen. Ain't going to cut it, unfortunately. This figure is only here from a design standpoint, and the designing of Roboto looks pretty cool, whether the swords are under-delivering or not. What do you guys think of Roboto? Let me know down below in the comments section, please and thank you. Have you picked up this figure for yourself? Have you any plans to pick up this figure for yourself? Let me know down below in the comments section. And certainly as well, if you enjoyed this video, hit with a like. If you're loving the content you guys are seeing and on board to see more Master Universe stuff, you'll be happy to know, FYI, we are going to be looking at some more stuff coming your way, but making sure that you're not missing out on any stuff that's happening here on a regular basis, that you're able to digest as much content as I'm putting on a regular basis, making sure that you're turning on the bell notification, but the biggest one, making sure that you're subscribing if you haven't already subscribed. Lots of stuff coming your way, guys. So as always, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.